Me here to be here at the society, the organization, the group that I basically think so much of because of the fact that you are involved with what is my passion, which is history, and your passion of the history of our county, and that is your main focus, is the history of Dillon County. I want to talk to you about some things tonight that most of you know already. And there's not really any need for me to talk to you all about the things because you all are more cheerleaders than I am, and you're there every day in that regard. I love this county. I love the history of it. I love the dynamics of it. I love the personalities, but I don't know enough about it. And I want to know a lot more about it. And I want to learn a lot more about it. I'm going to have a little more time in the next few years, maybe not. I thought maybe that retiring from active service on the bench, I would get a little more time, but I just, like my mom and daddy, I'm not sure what to do with time if you got nothing to do with it. So I basically volunteered when the Chief Justice asked me, and so I've stayed on with the court. They're down a judge, so I'm staying and working with them, and I'm going to be there with them for a couple more months, if not a little bit more, doing the same things I did before, except I don't have the administrative responsibilities as chief judge. In addition, I don't get any pay either. I get 10% of the pay I had before. That's the only thing you have. If you work 3 months consecutive, then they'll pay you 10% of your pay. And I did January, February, March, and so I finally got a check that was deposited the other day, and I looked at it, and if it's 10%, it's a small 10%. But still, I'm helping out, and I feel like they need me. But I've also have some people who've talked to me about doing some other things in regard to what some skills I have regarding mediation that's required now for our court system. And I teach at the USC Law School. I teach a course in the fall called American Legal History that I'm very, very happy to know that is kind of popular. You would think lawyers wouldn't be as not interested in American legal history, want to have file a complaint and things like that, but it's amazing the number of new lawyers who are interested in the course. In fact, I have a waiting list for it every fall. And then in the spring, I designed a course called Going to Court in South Carolina, where basically I teach these lawyers to be, and all of them are about to go into the profession. No first-year students. They already have got the basics and ready to go. I teach them about every court system because I remember when I graduated from law school, I understood what a contract was, but I had no idea how to file a complaint to sue somebody for breach of a contract. I didn't know where a court was, what you did. I mean, Ken McCutcheon would teach me a lot of things. Red Calhoun taught me a lot of things. Casey Manning and I taught each other things by going against each other in city court and learning about that. But they don't know anything about the new lawyers about what magistrate court is, municipal court, workers' comp, administrative law. They know administrative law, but they don't know how do you go to administrative law court. If you are upset because you didn't get a dock, or you didn't get a liquor license, or you didn't get some other thing you applied for, or you can't build on to the hospital. What do you do? Where do you go for these things? So I basically want to give them practical instructions. So when they leave law school, if they got this notebook, they're able to go in any court system in the state, from magistrate court, municipal, all the way up to the Supreme Court, and understand what they're doing and going. And that have asked me to think about another course I'm thinking about designing, which is this. All the way up from the Barbary Pirates, those Marines y'all might remember from the shores of Tripoli, all the way from that with Thomas Jefferson, all the way up now when we're looking at Ukraine. The issue has always been in a conflict with the executive branch and the legislative branch of our federal government is how do you send troops in to die? And many of them do die. As we know, we lost 60,000 almost in Vietnam. The thousands we lost in Afghanistan, and we lost in Iraq, and those in Korea, where we never declared war. Because the Constitution says that only Congress can declare war. How does the president send troops to Panama? Reagan sent them to Grenada. If we were to go to Ukraine, we would have to declare war on Russia. Or do you do it by NATO? What are the legal implications there? Have the courts ever been involved in the history of our nation? Yes, they have. People have actually sued regarding the intrusion of our troops into various places around the world over the history of our nation. And what are the legal principles involved? What are the constitutional principles involved? And so I might design to teach something like that, because I just enjoy being with the kids, teaching them, and I hope it's of some benefit in doing things like that. So I'm still rather busy. But my main job in my life in the last 30-some years has been as a judge, and trying to do my best. People say, what kind of judge are you? I say I'm a fair and just judge, I hope, and do my best to be fair and just. You know, my daddy, as you all know, was Native American, Lumbee Indian, which I was trying to learn a little more about, and his name was Lockemy. And then in the 1940s, he went down on his own and changed the name to Lockemy, because my mother's family wouldn't let her date a Lockemy and have an Indian in the family. You ain't no daggum Indian, you know. And so he just went down and changed it. I saw up at the courthouse and found the documents where he did it. And so he just made up the name Lockemy. I'm not sure if he saw it on someone else's thing or not. If it was about the Lockemies who used to run the scrapyard and all, he misspelled it because we got E-M-Y instead of A-M-Y. We never had their money either. But he just made it up. And so Mom and Daddy got married. He never knew that his son one day would be not only a lawyer, but a judge. And so when he made it up, he had no idea that I'd be holding court the first time ever in Dillon County and trying to make my decision what I'm going to sentence somebody to. And this guy who's before me, he's more experienced in court than I am. You know, he's standing there chewing gum, he's relaxed, and he's got a record a mile long. You know, and so I'm there to decide I'm going to be fair to him, I want to make sure I sentence him in a fair sentence. And that was my first day in court as a judge, and I'd only had 2 cases that day beforehand, and they both got probation. And so I was trying to think what to be fair to this guy. Well, they had a long record. And he's standing there with his lawyer, and he reaches over and he says, hey, lawyer. And the lawyer says, yes. He said, what'd you say the name of this judge is? And the lawyer said, he's a new judge. His name is Lockemy. He said, Lockemy? You mean like lock me up? He gets parole next week. Help me decide what I was going to do. But and then when I get people don't realize this as a judge, when I was a trial judge, when the week of court is over, I lose jurisdiction. So whatever motions you make in a criminal court system has to be made during that week of court or when that court term is up. And so prisoners get to prison and they think somehow the judge can help them, that the judge can somehow give them some reprieve and get them out of prison, when I can't. I have no more authority than you have once you're in prison, other than I do call wardens answer, the director answers, and I ask them questions because I want to make sure sometimes I hear concerns about things that aren't going right. But as far as get somebody released, I have no authority at all. But somehow they think that. So they'll send me letters. And in doing so, many of them forget my name or how to spell my name. They might have lock on it, or they might have, instead of Lockemy, Lackemy with an A, and sometimes they might want to think maybe getting with good fortune, they'll say Luckemy with a U. But sometimes when they misspell it Lickemy, I throw those right to the trash. But I've enjoyed my time on the bench, and I do this. I do not forget. I do not forget. And I do not ever cease to appreciate the fact that as a young person in Dillon, like all other young people, I was not the perfect person. I do not forget that when I ran for the legislature, no one knew me that much. I do not forget that I had no connections anywhere, and I did my best to introduce many of you. I do not forget that many people had reservations about me. And I do also not forget that I would knock on some doors and they'd say, aren't you a half-breed or whatever else. And that hurt me a little bit, but I didn't get mad about it. I realized that's just people's thoughts, and I wanted to work hard to make sure that they knew I'd be the best representative they had. And I do not forget that in June, in the primary, because in the primary was the only thing that mattered, in June of 1982, you, the people of Dillon County, gave me a chance. You gave me a chance that Maybe I didn't deserve, I don't know, but you gave it to me. And I said to myself, I'm never gonna ever finish the appreciation and love I have for this county that gave me that opportunity. And I did my best in the 4 terms I served in the House to do all I could for this county, do everything I could. My motto was, at a time when people were questioning about our things here in Dillon County, voting and all that kind of stuff, my motto was, I'm proud of Dillon County. And I'm still proud of Dillon County. I'm so proud. And you gave me that opportunity, and then later on, about 9 years later, got the chance to go on the bench, and went on the bench, and then was fortunate enough to be elected as the first person from Dillon County ever to be on the Court of Appeals, and first one to ever to be Chief Judge, and first Native American. It really was something that once again, I'm not sure I deserve, but I do appreciate it. And then to get involved with the American Bar Association, you all don't know this, because sometimes I do get concerned that if I'm in the paper, hey, he's in the paper. So I try to keep a lot of stuff just out of the paper. Although sometimes I'm doing it because I'm so proud, that I'm a son of Dillon County. Well, just this last months, I got involved with the American Bar Association, the largest legal organization in the world, 400,000 members. I've been working within that organization now for several years, and I was just elected to the Board of Governors to actually run the American Bar Association, with only 40 members in the entire nation who are on that board, and I'm the only one ever that I know of that from our county ever to be, or from the PD ever to be on the Board of Governors of the American Bar Association. So those all would not have been possible without the faith that you all had in me. So had in me, and I hope you still do. So as I talk about my county tonight, I'm not just making a presentation. I'm here talking about my family, talking as if I'm talking about my home place, because it is the home place. I was born here. I want to be buried here, and it'll always be the top of my heart, no matter whatever happens in my life. I remember in 1960, they had that semi-centennial celebration. Y'all remember? Some of y'all might be old enough that I was a little child, but I remember the wooden nickels and everything else and all that, and I got a little peak interest about things then. I have here with me that I found that we need to look at. Remember when this book was published in 1976 by Durwood Stokes? It's called The History of Dillon County. It's the only book we ever had about a history of Dillon County itself. There was one that was about Upper Marion County and Marion County, I think by Mr. Bass, but this is Dillon itself. I'm not sure if anybody ever read the whole thing. If you have, raise your hand. You did, okay. You think you have, that's a good comment. I'm not sure where it's from. Well, I've started now looking at it. It was published, but right now it went out of print, because after about a couple of years, nobody were buying it, so it went out of print. But I've got a couple of them now. They're almost collector's items. But you read these things, and I found some things I've verified I'm going to talk to you about tonight that are in here, but not as detailed as I've got some information about it, that we can get more information. But we need to look more into this book. We in Dillon County need to look into it, and to think about, do we now need to publish another book? I look at this, done by Mr. Gordon McLaurin. Remember Mr. McLaurin used to be the oldest lawyer in America? He did this about the Dillon County Bar, 1888 to 1974. My luck, I became a lawyer after this book was published. I'm not in the book. But it's the Dillon County Bar from 1888 to 1974. With a photograph here of Mr. Hub Britt in the book that Dolph Brady gave me. And Dolph Brady, a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man that loved this history, There are a lot of areas of Dillon County that maybe we need to look more at. And what I thought I'd do is, this is our flag. I have also over here this book here. Some of you may have it. This is the book they did in 1976 with Elizabeth Hendricks. Elizabeth Hendricks was an elementary school teacher over at South Elementary, and she was the one who designed our flag. She designed the flag, And this is the program they used the day that they unveiled the flag. Mr. J.P. Camp, remember, used to be head of the tech school here. He was on the committee that did it, and they've got comments by him here, and then they got comments by the flag committee, Reverend M.J. Patrick. I don't know if I knew him. I don't know if everybody knew him. He was a reverend here at the time. And Bill McLeod, remember Bill McLeod, who was the judge for many years, a retired Major General in the Army Reserves. And she talks about what she did in the flag and what it meant. And let's have a little history of that right now. See if you all know this. Can we agree why it's called the Golden Land, or can we not? Why is it called the Golden Land? What do you think?
Tobacco.
Tobacco. That's what would be good to say, but is that good to say now? Today? But that's probably in 76. Here they talk about that in a way, but she also talks about the fact of the new county in 1910 being the golden opportunity of so many people. I've got Dillon Herald articles that I was researching last week that talks about just leading up to the election or the vote in 1909 about how the new counties came to Dillon, representatives from the new Calhoun County, representatives from a couple of the newer counties that came, and Abbeville and all. They came here to Dillon to talk to the people who were organized and to have this election to separate from Marion County about how exciting it was to be a new county, how wonderful opportunities were there. And all the articles that were written in the Dillon Herald about these opportunities that were going to be in this new county. Sometimes I think we let them down there, and I'll talk more about that. And so that can be tobacco, or can be the golden opportunity here for this land in Upper Marion County with the railroads and everything else, the opportunity. Of course, we've got 3 stars. What do they stand for?
Lakeview, Latta, and Dillon.
What now?
Lakeview, Latta, and Dillon.
Right, the 3 incorporated communities in Dillon County: Lakeview, Latta, and Dillon. And of course, in the last 50 years, we've had no additional incorporated area. But Lakeview, Latta, and Dillon, the three communities incorporated. 1910, what does that stand for? Anybody know what 1910 stands for? Yeah, that's it. Remember, he signed, Governor Ansel signed the proclamation of the bill in February of 1910. It was December the 14th, 1909, that we had the election, that you had to vote to determine whether they're going to separate from Marion County or not. You go to the archives, and I'll talk more about that in a second, you'll see all the arguments back and forth between people, but it was 1910 that we finally left Marion County there, Ms. Litt. But we'd had several opportunities before to do it, and attempts to do it, and we failed. We failed. In fact, in 1906 when we tried it, 1904 rather, when we tried it, we were going to name it, our county was going to be Calhoun County. Calhoun County. But then by 1909 and 1906, a new county out of Orangeburg County was formed called Calhoun County. So we lost that opportunity. I'm glad we did. But 1910, that's what that stands for, the year that the governor signed the bill to make us a county. And of course, Dillon County. So we know the Golden Land, we know the 3 stars, we know 1910, the name of the county. Now, what's this red, white, and blue stand for?
America.
United States of America.
Right, we're part of the United States of America. So here we've got the fact that we're 3 cities, 3 incorporated communities in a county of people formed in 1910, part of the United States of America. So that's what the flag stands for. We got 1 extra part. What part is that we haven't talked about?
The stars.
What do they stand for?
States, but...
Mr. Wallace, you gotta know what it stands for. What do those 8 stars stand for? That flag flies over our courthouse every day.
We were the 8th state.
The 8th state do what?
The first to see, we were the, I don't know.
Everybody concentrate on that war, that's the...
That's different.
No, not that, no. But you were right the first time. We were the 8th state to ratify the Constitution of the United States of America. We ratified the Constitution in May of 1788. We were the 8th state. It took 9 states for us to become a nation. Right after us, New Hampshire did. Had we waited a week and a half longer, we would have been the 9th state. but we were the 8th state to ratify the Constitution of the United States of America. So here in this one flag, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers of Dillon County, in this one flag, you've got this opportunity, you've got this optimistic view of this land, of this area, the Golden Land, with 3 incorporated communities and with a whole county. All of that, county and city. And you've got the nation that we all love, the United States of America, and you got 8 stars that stand for the state. So you've got nation, state, city, and county all in one flag. There's not one other flag in this nation, I think, you can find that'll have all that in one. And we need to make sure the people of our county know about it. They see this flag all the time. When we restored the courthouse, I still remember, Valerie, I remember when we restored the courthouse, as y'all recall, there was a controversy going on then and about the Confederate flag flying at the State House. And when we were restoring the courthouse, at the time before we restored it, you had one flag pole there, and it had the American flag on top and the state flag below it. I thought it would be really nice to have 3 flags. And if you notice, if the American flag's on the right, it can be even with the other flags. Because as long as the American flag's on the right, it's still prominent. It doesn't have to be higher. It can be even. So I said, let's have 3 flags. But we then had to find flag poles, and LATA contributed a flag pole. However, believe it or not, the city of Atlanta said, here, we got an extra flag pole. We'd order one for a school. We don't need it. So they gave us one. I said, then good, we'll put up 3 flag poles. Well, Major Williams was part of county council. We were giving him a tour of the courthouse just where we're going to be opening it after the restored stuff was done. And we just was putting in that flag pole. And we had the American flag flying, we had the South Carolina flag flying, we had that 3rd flag pole there with nothing on it. He said, James, what's going on the 3rd flag pole? I said, oh, that's where the Confederate flag's going to go. He said, well, no, money in the county ain't going to. I said, I'm joking. We're going to fly the Dillon County flag. And so, we have them all 3 flying prominently there in front of the courthouse. The American flag, and then the South Carolina flag, and then the Golden Land of our county flag. But tell people what the flag stands for. Not many flags have so much involved in this one document. Ms. Hendricks, we need to know more about her. We need to laud her more for what she's done and let people know more about her. One wonders how many times we go into our schools to talk about our county history. Here are the areas of our county I think we need a lot more research on. You know, the area of the county in the 18th century. What did it look like in the 1700s? What did it look like here? There were people here. Remember, South Carolina was settled in 1670. By the 1700s, we had people in this area, not many, but by the middle of the 1700s over there, we do know that we had people fighting in the Revolutionary War. So people were here. We need to know more people's studies about it. Someone mentioned, who mentioned Oscar Lane to me? Was that Deneen? Yeah, Deneen mentioned, more about that. Some people who fought within the Revolutionary War. We had 3 battles here in what is now Dillon County. We had a battle at a place called Rouse's Ferry, had one at Hewlin's Mill, and we had one at Bear Swamp in Lakeview. And we also had a battle going on within this community, this area, between people who were loyal to Great Britain and those who wanted to be patriots. You had some brutal things going on. One of the incidents that I read about is the death of Courtney. She was a lady who was a loyalist, who had helped the loyalists, and was replying to loyalists, meaning those who were favored Great Britain, who were local people who stayed here. And she was brutally killed by the patriots. And you had the same things going on with others too on the loyalist side. The book there, the Dillon County History book, talks about some of the burnings and killings among the people here because they fought on the patriot side and the loyalist side. I have back there something that Cullen Bryant brought tonight. Thank you so much, Cullen. I've never seen a map when the area became incorporated as our nation and as our state. We divided ourselves up into districts. Remember, one time it was only Charleston. But then as more and more people came in, the Revolutionary War was over and all, we divided our state into districts. We initially thought about parishes, but then districts came about. This area was known as Liberty District. Cullen has found an old map that shows what it looked like around 1800 in the map of South Carolina. And I've got it on the table back here. Cullen, thanks for bringing it here. He's got another one that shows our state in about the year 1900. But also on that map, they have what is called in a name in 1800 what that area is and what it is now in 1981 when the person redid the map. So you can see where these things are and where they are today. And I would hope, and we'll talk about it a little bit, we could get something like that and preserve it somewhere. But a map of where we're standing on now, where Southern Fried is, I wonder what was here in 1800. I don't know, I guess a house or a tree or something. But to know in the land we're standing on, what are the roots? What were people thinking? What were they doing in the 1800s? James Dillon. We all think we know this man. We all think we know him. We say his name every time we say where we're from Dillon County. We say James W. Dillon, but do we really know James Dillon? I had the opportunity to go to Ireland 2.5 years ago. And in Dublin, that is a pretty important name. The Inn of Court in the English common law system, including in Ireland, Scotland, and in Great Britain and England, is the roots of the legal profession. You cannot be a lawyer going into court to argue in front of a jury or a judge unless you've been through the Inns of Court. It's a training area, a school area that's beyond law school. You go through the law school, but then you got to also go through an Inn of Court. They have four of them in England. They have 2 or 3 in Scotland. In Ireland, they got 1. It's called the King's Inn. And they have in there a board with all their leaders over the years of the King's Inn. All the famous lawyers. Dillon appears 3 or 4 times. Dillon. And their businesses over there called Dillon. So his Irish roots were such that he had some leaders, I'm sure, in Ireland before they came over. As we know, his ancestors first came to Virginia in the 1750s. Some were involved in the Revolutionary War. This book by Stokes has a comment about Joshua Dillon fighting in the Revolutionary War. But him himself, Mr. Dillon, what I have read, and maybe you've read more than I have to tell me this, but they say, he was a merchant starting in Little Rock, and was kind of successful. Then the Civil War came along and things sort of held back, but he had a lot of accounts he didn't collect on in the Civil War, and after the Civil War was over, he went up north for a while and then came back, but he wasn't forcing people to pay him, and he opened a little bank, moved to Dillon in the 1880s from Little Rock and had a bank, and that he helped people in that regard. But I'm wondering, why did he not go broke during the Civil War? How did he maintain things? Obviously his business was not operating that well. He had to be sort of under a bad situation during Reconstruction like many others were. You wonder how he did it, how he was able to help people, because that's the story everyone says about how wonderful he was, how he didn't collect on accounts with local people. He actually loaned them money when they owed him money. They kept him going, and that's why everybody, although he was a businessman, he was loved by everyone as a benefactor, And I'd like to know more about that himself, how he did it. And then if you go into archives and history in Columbia, you read about the formation of the county, the battles in the formation of the county. He's not involved in most of those. And you wonder why. Well, when you think about it, by the 1890s, he was born in 1826. By the 1890s, he was in his 70s. And he was still doing some of his business, but he was not as active as others were. He was supportive of everything, and one of the articles talk about the fact he supported things, but he couldn't be as active, couldn't attend as many of the rallies and things of this nature. And then, sadly, when we do become a county by 1910, He is sickly by then, but he's still working at his business, still working at trying to do what he can do. But then by July of 1913, only 2.5 years, really after the courthouse was built, 3 years after it became a county, he passes on July the 29th, I think it is, 1913. I researched the pastor who was at the Methodist Church at the time of his death, a guy named Stackhouse, who had been a pastor in many places. He was only here in Dillon, that particular Stackhouse, for only 1 year. The other Stackhouses were here, but he was there and preached the funeral of James W. Dillon. James W. Dillon received the honor no one ever has received, and no one has since. Because of the love the people of this county had for him, because of their feeling that their namesake was someone that without him they wouldn't have been a county. Because we all know about him giving the land to the railroad to bring the railroad here. When the county was formed, he not only gave them a square where the courthouse is, he gave them $25,000. So that William Edwards, who was the architect for our courthouse, he built several other courthouses: Abbeville, Lee County, Clarendon County, and Jasper County. I visited all of them. None of them look anywhere close to the beauty and the structure of our county. We have more marble than any building I know of in the state. How did we have the money as a new little county to do that? Have it built with the Beaux-Arts style architecture, the Beaux-Arts style that you won't see a better example of that this side of the Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C. We only had it because of the gift he had made, the land he had made, and the people who wanted to honor him by building such a beautiful courthouse. So when he passed on, before they had his funeral, they put his body there in the lobby of the first floor area, the foyer of the first floor of the courthouse, for people to walk by as the body lying state at the courthouse. What an honor. In heaven he must have thought that maybe it was good, some of the things he did in life, but how the people of Dillon County honored him must have been something he was proud of to present to God. That here, in all these little counties, people come and go, and you think about people in the Capitol. To me, that was more important, if you like, the U.S. Capitol. The fact that these people cared for him that much, that they let his body lie there for a day for the citizens to pay tribute and honor this man. And Reverend Stackhouse quoted a poem from William Collins. William Collins is an English poet. He wrote about the sacrifices that British soldiers had made in so many of the wars that kept the freedoms and the blessings for those who benefited from the sacrifices that these people made. And Reverend Stackhouse quoted from that poem, because after these British soldiers perish and die giving up so much as our soldiers, airmen and sailors and Marines, they're buried. And he said in that poem, "How sleep the brave who sink to rest when all their country's wishes blessed." In other words, those brave people who are now asleep in eternity, and now we put them down in their graves, but they must sleep so wonderfully knowing the blessings they've given their country. He changed the words just a little bit in his oration. He just said, "How sleep this brave one who sinks to rest when all his counties wishes blessed." James W. Dillon, who had done so much. We need more about him, more than just a stone monument in front of this courthouse. We need more about him and the things that he did. Early 19th century history, we need more about that too, as far as the 1800s and even after the map that Cullen has. we need to know more in that regard, the Civil War actions. We know a lot about the participants. The Dillon County Museum has some things about the Civil War. Some of those who were there, the phase and all that, but in the Reconstruction history, and some of the documents we can't find. Do you know this? Right now, if I said, let's go down to county council, let's find the document that Governor Ansel signed in February of 1910 to make it the county. Betsy knows this. You can't do it because it doesn't exist. No one knows where the document is. You can look up in the statute books and see a copy of it, but the archives, you can go to the archives in Columbia, say, maybe they got a copy of it, I'm sure. The original act with the ribbon tied on it, the signatures of the governor and all that. The archives don't have it either because they had a fire in 1916 and it burned. No one in Dillon County of officialdom has anything like that. I put out a call several years ago to see if anybody could search to find something. Luckily, Councilman David, J. David, found somewhere, he found that his family had kept this thing and he has a copy of it. I'm so afraid of what to do with it. I told him, please lock it up. Let's hire a guard. It's the only one I know that exists where you can actually see the signature of the governor. Another thing, when Governor Ansel signed the document making Dillon County a county, Thomas Dillon purchased a pen, a gold pen, for him to sign and to present to Mr. Dillon. Y'all got that pen? Where's that pen? And the article says that this is going to be something that the posterity of Dillon County can have to remember this amazing moment. Where is it? Let's remember, let's have it, let's see it. There's so many things that are missing about our history that we need to just have to search and find it. Maybe like J. David finding that document, we can find that somewhere. Maybe it is somewhere. Then we got to think about how you preserve it and how you know where it is. Sadly, we had that thing, and Betsy knows this, where when they did the courthouse, they put a box in there to sort of have documents and all that kind of stuff, and really Dillon Herald things and all that. And we opened the box, and over the years, water and moisture, and I destroyed everything. I think they found a couple of coins or whatever, but the county has that. I'm not sure what they've done with that.
That was a question asked to me the other day by the chairman, and I told him maybe you had it.
I'm a private citizen. The county has it, so what they did with it...
I thought it might be in your hall of history.
No, it's not. No one ever gave it to me. I was there when you were there when they opened it, and was sad. And then they took it to some sort of preservation so they could open it and see what's there. But then when they opened it, nothing in it. And that's the last time I saw it. And so what I decided to do, though, and what I got other people to support us doing, was I said, let's put a new box in there now. And instead of putting newspaper articles that we hope will be available anyway, instead of putting documents, what I hope will be available, let's have young people write about what they feel about this county now, what they feel about the future of our county, what they predict will be there with our county. Then let's put a few other things that we had, some artifacts that people had of today, and some things that were a little old that people parted with. We'll finally get parted with a few things, some other things. But in that box, and we bought the most elaborate box we could, airtight and everything else. And instead of putting it in there for 100 years, what the box says is to be opened in 50 years. What year was that, 14? In 2014. In 2014, we put the box in there. And what the design is, and we got to make sure we don't forget this, the design is that in 50 years, in 2064, these same young people, and we know who they are, Dillon Herald's got them, we know they are, they're going to open that box. We won't be there. I think I will. Still talking about Dillon County history. But they're going to open that box, and they're going to look at the predictions they made. They're going to look at the thoughts they had, good and bad, about Dillon County, and be able to talk again. because at that point in time, they'll be in their 60s. And hopefully by then, people will be living 150, 200 years old. But they're going to talk about their thoughts about it and open the box again. Instead of doing it when no one can be around it, put it in there, it's good to have it in there so the people who put the stuff in can get it back out in 50 years when they're adults and done things in life. But there's so many missing documents. And then this. We in Dillon County, we need to begin a total history of our county. Gordon Elementary School. Does anybody know who Gordon is named after?
Dr. Gordon.
There's a Dr. Gordon, a man who came here and did so many amazing things, trained at Harvard, and an African American. We need things to commemorate not only him, but also, what about the enslaved people who lived here in the 19th century who were enslaved? We need to know about the camels of Newtown as well as the camels of Little Rock. We need to know that there's two types of Buffets and how they got their names. We need to be aware of the Lockleys and the Jacksons. I think sometimes we focus our county on too much of one race, and for long years we all focused about the Civil War. About 4 years that we had very little to do with other than getting it started. Then once we got started, we had a few people involved with it, but the state was not as involved as other places. Plus, we forget about all the other things about the history of our county, the people. Who were some of these enslaved people? What were their conditions when they lived here in Dillon County? And what were they doing during Reconstruction? Did some of the enslaved people of Dillon County, did they become leaders during Reconstruction? Because you had many African Americans who became leaders. You had a member of the Supreme Court. You had many members of the legislature. In Upper Marion County, who were some of the leaders of the former enslaved people? We need to find more about that. We need to make this a total history of our county, of everybody in this county. Because we all live together, and we all have experienced history together, and we're all moving forth together. I'm proud of my country. I love my country. And I know that we had problems. Slavery was obviously an evil thing. The fact women couldn't vote was a bad, evil thing. But as historian Gordon Wood says, when you begin a country with the words, all are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, among them is life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, what you're doing is you're beginning that process to give all people that right to liberty, that all people that right to the pursuit of happiness. Once you begin with that, you've started it. You started the debate. You started the discussion, and we started that discussion. And there were many who didn't want to go forth with it. We have to admit that. But there were many who did. And we got to admit that as Martin Luther King says, you know, I've seen that promised land. I may not get there with you, but I've seen it. And we began to see it, and I think we're beginning to see it today as we begin to realize that we can't forget the problems of the past, but let's celebrate the fact that we somehow came through that, and we're still a strong nation. And we're still the United States of America, the land that I love. And when I get the next one here. Here's some things that we need some more information about. I spelled Carolina, look at that. The fight to form the county. I told you about the stuff in the archives. They got about maybe one box of stuff with letters and everything else. The Dillon Herald has done its best to preserve their newspapers. But sadly, way before Betsy came and others, people would go to the Dillon Herald and they would look at old papers that the Dillon Herald was trying to keep. Someone would take them with them. Someone would tear out an article and take it with them. So now you have many missing years, many missing papers. I looked up in the book, the one that Johnny showed me, I can see the week before the election. The week before the election in 1909, before the vote, in 1909, you got a Dillon Herald that talks about the gathering, the big rally and all that. There is no paper. The election was a Tuesday. Paper came out on Thursday, once a week then. On Thursday, there is no paper for the Thursday after the vote. There is no paper for it. You can't find it. Has anybody got one? No. And you got also when Mr. Dillon dies. When Mr. Dillon dies and have the funeral. You don't have it there. You know where you got it? You got it on the wall in the Dillon Herald because somebody brought them a paper to give them this thing with the Dillon Herald with his funeral service and a tribute to him. So the Dillon Herald, like the government in a way, things are missing. Things are missing. And luckily you've got now, with Johnny and Betsy, what they're doing is, they're making sure that when you go and look at a document, you look at it in public there, and it's in the laminated things, you can't touch it. But see, the things that I've looked at when I researched it, you got marks on it and everything else. I looked on the first election that was held in March of 1910, and you've got people actually circling things showing that this is not, they only got one left, this only got left, because people went in and circled who won and all that. We need to know more about that too, by the way. Who were these people who won that first election in March of 1910 for sheriff, for probate judge? The governor signed a bill, ordered an election, and you got their names, and you know who they were, you saw the vote totals. The documents have, but you don't know much about it. And the people involved in the fight, Hamer, Jordan. In the 20th century, we have the Gibson building. I was told that he was the Speaker of the House. I can't find any documents showing him being the Speaker of the House. Does anybody know that? Alvin, you know that? Was he the Speaker of the House? You know, Cole? I mean, we named a building after him. I saw that his father was in the legislature. One Gibson Sr. was in the legislature term. Then a junior was in the legislature in the 40s. And I remember when I first came back to Dillon practice law from the Army, I met Mr. Gibson. Did anybody know Mr. Gibson?
His name's Jim Gibson. They call him Jim Gibson.
What now?
They call him Jim.
Yes. Why did they name the building? See, I don't know, why did they name that building? He must have done something that would cause us to name the building after him.
I knew him as a child, when I was a child. So.
Yeah. But see, I would think there must have been some very, very important reason, and I want to find more about that, about the Gibsons. And because I've looked in the legislative history, and I can't find them. And about when many of us were children, this 50th anniversary. I remember the little boy having dances up at the warehouses, the tobacco warehouses, women in those, what do they call those Quinlan dresses and things out? And Mama said, boy, don't you try looking at that dress. 1960, and then of course we had the Centennial. Sadly, the Centennial, we tried to have something outside of the courthouse lawn, and we had the worst weather in the world that happened in February. You don't need to plan stuff in February, guys. And then of course we have the 1980s. But we need to do more research in these areas about Dillon County, And I'm almost through here. There's the picture of the most beautiful courthouse in the nation. American flag, even on the right, Sapline and Dillon County flag. Look at these. You know what this thing says here? You need to go there sometimes and look at that. It says you got the lady in blind justice holding two scrolls. One scroll says law. One scroll says justice. Beaux-Arts is a French architectural style with the lions sides, and then you have the French style, law and justice, from Les Miserables, where you have Jean Valjean, who's committed a small crime, but for the small crime he's paying horrible prices, and he does so many good things that people say, no matter how much good things you do, you're still a criminal, and so it says in the theater of Jean Valjean, mention law, but have justice and fairness also. And yet also with the Beaux-Arts style, with these columns, with these ropes as if it's draperies, you have the balance of the Greco-Roman style with the columns. And then he balances all out, Mr. Edwards did, with this federal style of having both sides looking the same, just like it's a building in Williamsburg, Virginia. Nowhere are you going to see architecture like it. Nowhere are you going to see the beauty that we have right here in our county. And of course you've got Mr. Dillon's monument there that we need more of. But a beautiful, beautiful building that we need to think more of. And I'm concerned, I'll be honest with you, I am concerned that a lot of attention was paid to it in the middle 90s. I remember people saying, oh, we don't have the money to spend, but yet somehow the money spent to do some of the restoration. We should have done a lot more, but we couldn't get the money for it. But it has been restored, but sadly, the money's not been there to keep it up as well as it should be kept up. And I'm concerned that maybe in a decade or so, if not sooner, we're going to have a problem again. I hope not. I hope not. I hope the county does continue to do its best again. The windows need to be replaced. If we had a really bad storm, I'm afraid that the storm would blow some of the windows in, and you'd end up with water and all that all over the place. But right now, it's the beauty of it, the majesty of it is amazing, and we need to appreciate it and show it off even more. There's another painting that we did of Mr. Dillon. I just wanted to show this to you because here is this man. He's not there proud, happy, boasting they named the county after, because as you know, on that voting day on December the 14th, 1909, the choice was, do you want to become a separate county, plus what do you want to name it? And Dillon was one of the names, and the PD was another one, and others, and PD came in second, but Dillon came in first. So in the painting, the portrait we did, we used a photograph of him at the signing. He was there at the signing, standing up when Governor Ansel was signing the bill. He's there standing. This is the look on his face. Look at this. Does he look like he's boasting? Does he look like he's saying, ha ha, man, got named on this county and all that? No, he looks grateful. He looks humble. He's cherishing to his chest that bill that we have no copy of. He's cherishing it. And so grateful to the people of this county who thought so much of him to name this county after him. You go to other counties, Richland County. Now you're never going to be rich in Richland County. Charleston County after King of England. Lee County after General. Florence County, we argue where it was after the guy's daughter, where it was after Italy's daughter, and people argue it still. But where do you go that you get a county named after just a good guy? Just a good guy who cared for others. To be so proud that we don't boast of a general, we don't boast of a king, we boast of a citizen among us, a person among us who we chose as our namesake. So there we are, Dillon County, little triangle-looking place there at the edge of this state. Used to be Upper Marion County. Right as we enter from North Carolina, and now I want to just end with this, an opportunity for the future. I was honored the other month to be asked to join the Battleground Heritage Foundation of this state. And last night, believe it or not, I was at a reception in Columbia, and someone mentioned that he also was on another commission that the governor had created. It's called the 250th Commission. This 250th Commission wants to commemorate the 250 years since the Revolutionary War began. They look at 1770 because that's when the Boston Massacre occurred. 1783 is when the Treaty of Paris ending the war was finally signed. So for that 12-year period, they say 250 years from, I guess, 2020 to 2033. They want to celebrate the 250 years of the Revolution of our freedom. They're trying to get commissions, the governor is, for each county to, where you've had Revolutionary War activity. Some have commissions to somehow recognize that activity and to have them come and speak and to maybe put up markers and stuff and things of that nature. I want us to be involved with that. I told him I've asked to go to the county to speak with them in May. I want to talk to the county, see if we can get us involved in that. And in addition to getting involved in the 250th anniversary, to show that Dillon County, like other counties, don't just say the Battle of Cowpens and up in Spartanburg County area, the Kings Mountain, Camden and Charleston and all that. Dillon County fought for our freedoms. But I want to also think about, as we look at this building here, you know they built this Justice Center out where it is, and they're using a lot of that for court. Maybe we could look at this building here to be somehow to house some of our historical stuff. Maybe we could do something with it. That's up to the county, whatever they'd like to do. But golly, wouldn't that be a great place to cherish the history of our county? Cherish the history of our county. So, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Dillon County, a part of the state, Dillon County, part of this region, but more important than anything else, Dillon County, a part of our life. There's a lady named Beryl Markham. Beryl Markham was an adventurous. She grew up in Africa. Her father went there to start a business. His wife got tired of it and left. She decided to stay with her father. She flew an airplane across from Europe to America after Lindbergh did America to Europe. It's easier going from America to Europe because you got the tailwinds. She flew the other way, by herself, solo. People didn't know that about her. She wrote books. She wrote West with the Night. Hemingway said she was one of the best writers he'd ever read. There was a movie called Out of Africa with Meryl Streep. Her character's in that movie also. She wrote that all great people in your life, no matter if they're still here on earth or not, will come back to you if you ask them. And I think of the Mr. Dillons, the Hamers, the Oscar Lanes in the Revolution, the people throughout the time that people lived in this area, of being among us, of being pulling for us. Those people who wrote about posterity would think about Dillon as years went on with all the things that would go on here and all the wonderful things. And I know a lot of wonderful things have not gone on, but some wonderful things are going on. And we can somehow maybe change some things. If we started a commission, maybe we could somehow get some funds for golden coats for people to wear to escort people around the museums to show them about Dillon County to be proud. Maybe it could be people to show all of Dillon County, all races, about the history of our county. To somehow bring back the memory, to bring back the pride of those people who went before us, that they had and the hopes they had for this county. There's a wonderful poet out of Tennessee named Wendell Berry. Wendell Berry wrote about how he trembles when he thinks about gatherings and tables where those who used to be there are not there anymore. Like we said tonight, Yolanda McCormick and Howard Sloan and others. And in that poem, he wrote this: I tremble with gratitude for my children and their children, who take pleasure in one another. At our dinners together, the dead enter and pass among us in living love and memory. And so the young are taught. And so the young are taught. The young of our county need to know about the history of our county. They need to know about the people of our county of all types to appreciate and love our county. And we need to tremble with gratitude for all the things that have been done in the past. And to know that in this very room tonight, that spirit of all those from the past are with us. And give us the charge to carry on, to be proud of Dillon County. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.